Friends, it's been my true privilege these many years to share with you my thoughts on the Parsha, first in written form and now more recently as videos. And now the time has come to pass the baton over to our students, our amazing rabbis in the field, who will be sharing with you their insights, their wisdom on the Word of God, bringing to it the perspective of the amazing rabbinates that they are doing and the people they are serving. We start with Rabbi Gabe Greenberg, Executive Director of Penn Hillel.
Thank you, Rabbi Linzer. I'm so excited to be learning with you this week. Parshat Mishpatim. You know, we're just 2 weeks out from the events of Colleyville, Texas, where 4 people were taken hostage by a gunman, and the gunman was eventually killed. And there's been a debate in the week since about many things, one of which is, are we happy that this guy was killed? Or should he have had the opportunity to have been brought to justice? It's a similar debate to what happened some years ago when Osama bin Laden was killed by a Navy team, SEAL 6 or something like that. They killed him in an extrajudicial fashion. He was never taken to court. There too, are we happy he died? Or should he have been tried and had full justice done in that respect? It really begs a broader question, which is, when do we say that certain laws and rules of society should be applied to everyone? Or are there things that a person can do that are so bad that we withhold from them certain rights or ways of treating them properly that we would apply to others? This week's Parsha Mishpatim, there's a great story in the Yerushalmi based on a verse in our Parsha that speaks to that exact question. It says in the Yerushalmi in Trumot chapter 5, halacha 3, that there was once a butcher who was selling non-kosher meat, treifa and nevela, that's meat that had been found dead on its own, and also meat that was not shechted, not killed in a kosher fashion. So this butcher was selling non-kosher meat to the villagers. And one day this butcher was drinking on Shabbos, and he climbs up to his roof to see the view, and he falls off the roof and he dies. And this is now going to get gruesome. He's lying there on the ground, dead, and he's bleeding, and wild animals and dogs come and they start drinking and lapping at his blood. And the villagers go and they ask Rabbi Hanina, and they say, what should we do with his body? Should we move him? And he says, no, we shouldn't. Why? And he quotes from our Parsha. And he says, Ubasar basadeh treifa, if you find non-kosher meat, nevela meat, that had died on its own, lo tochelu, don't eat it. Lakelev tashlichunoto, you should throw it to the dogs. And says Rabbi Hanina, very interestingly, this guy stole from the dogs. And so they're eating what's theirs. Oy, it's very gruesome that this guy, by feeding non-kosher meat to Jews, had been withholding it from the dogs, which our Parsha says you should do. So Rabbi Hanina says, no, you should let the dogs eat him. It's very gruesome. This leads to a fascinating debate. The 14th century commentary, the Hagahot Ashri, says, from here we learn that a butcher who feeds non-kosher meat to Jewish people does not deserve burial. Like I said at the very beginning, he says what this guy did is so bad, and butchers that do this are so bad that we shouldn't even bury them. By the way, you might remember there was a famous case from 15 years ago in Muncie where a butcher was also caught selling non-kosher chickens. Anyway, fast forward 500 years, and Baruch Epstein, the author of the Torah Tamima, says, I disagree. He says, even an evil person like this guy who was selling non-kosher meat, even he deserves a burial. And he learns it out from the laws and elsewhere in the Torah where it describes the importance of a quick burial. Regardless, what's so interesting about that debate is that it's a great example of saying, here's this super evil person, and the Hagot Ashri says, don't bury him. He has given up all rights of receiving sort of good treatment from our society. Whereas the Torah Tamima says, no, everyone deserves burial. It doesn't matter how bad what you've done is, you deserve a certain level of justice and a certain level of good treatment by society. So this is a very important question that is still resonant today. A pleasure learning with you. More next week.